He cracked. That does not mean this healthcare thing still is not cracked. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And what to make of the president's moral mea culpa? Not quite reversing a contraception controversy, but providing a way out for those offended. And in so doing, you can now add angry Catholics and other religious groups to the healthcare waiver list. They joined fast food restaurants that really didn't like the restrictions for part-time workers, and a lot of big manufacturers that had issues with how they covered retired workers. But if so many are opting out, and there are quite a few, are you a sucker for just staying in? To Ben Stein, Charles Payne, David McDowell, along with Charlie Gasparino and Neil Weinberg. All right, so Charles Payne, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think the sucker part is right. Listen, this goes to a lot of things, Neil, but I think the most important part of this is that there was no vetting. This was rammed down our throats. We were told we were going to like it once we knew what it was all about. And as we can see, every single time, every other week, there's something wrong. Here's some things people probably don't know about. Let's say you sell a house. You're going to have to pay an additional tax, 3.8% Medicare. A Medicare tax associated with selling your house and other unearned income.
Well, if you see the bill, you'll need Medicare.
Yeah, exactly.
That's capital gains and dividends.
Yeah, but I mean, Medicare, you can have a Medicare tax payroll. Anybody out there making $250,000 a year jumps to 2.35% from 1.5%. And also, hospitals, I love this one. Hospitals that spend more per elderly patient are going to get penalized. But there's no rationing.
But Ben Stein, you're looking at this and you're realizing all the people who've been granted waivers or opt-outs for various reasons, and maybe to address these issues they find onerous. If so many can get out, what does that tell you?
Well, what I'm looking at is the Democrat Congress basically gave the Democrat president, Mr. Obama, a blank check. They didn't fill in the blanks. They didn't cross the T's, they didn't dot the I's. They just said, trust us. And they just said, try it, you'll like it. It tastes just like chicken. It doesn't taste like chicken. It tastes like something else from chicken. And it's going to be a big problem when they fill in even more of the blanks. They've just started filling in the blanks. When they fill in all the blanks, I think we're going to see we have fully socialized medicine, and the government is going to be taking money out of everybody's pockets wherever they can find it to pay for it. This is not to say that the poor should not have health insurance, but to make this Rube Goldberg incredibly complicated contraption to do it, that was a big mistake. And for Congress not to give a fully detailed bill to the president, that was a huge mistake.
Indeed, Catholics responded to that and said, we don't like this Rube Goldberg.
Right.
And said no. All right, so what do you make of this?
What do I make of it? If you look at it, it's eerily similar, and I studied Dodd-Frank more, to Dodd-Frank, the financial reform bill. When you really start unpacking Dodd-Frank, it is this Rube Goldberg contraption of rules and regulations that really doesn't do much about the underlying causes of the financial crisis, which it was supposed to prevent, another 2008 implosion, but it prevents banks from making money and prevents banks from making money and giving out loans. And it's a huge problem. And I'll tell you, I don't know what Republicans do. I don't know what anybody that opposes Obama do. But there is an argument to be made that this man not just socialized the economy, he may be ruining it for years to come.
I don't worry so much about the obvious costs and the ways to raise revenue that Charles pointed out. I mean, I worry about the cost, but at least those are the knowns, and they're out there. Like, I'm personally really angry about the 10% tanning tax that went into effect. Come on, people! A 10% tax on tanning services. 10%. That is outrageous.
Outrageous.
But I'm serious. But it's the hidden cost. It's what's hidden in this thing.
They lop a separate 10% tax?
It's a 10% excise tax on just tanning.
Now, they do that because why? Tanning can lead to cancer?
What about Botox? What about Botox?
Well, they changed it to tanning instead of cosmetic procedures,
They have to pay up front because if you go for
and that did hurt businesses. Anecdotally, I know that for a fact. But it's the hidden cost. Like the issue with the contraceptives, that's been now handed off to the insurance companies. Right. Well, you know what? These contraceptives aren't free, and those costs will be passed on to other people.
Apparently this was news to insurance companies. I'll leave that out of it for a separate argument. But, Neil, the debate now seems to be not so much over, look, the healthcare thing looks decided and done. You know, Supreme Court might rule otherwise. They'll pick apart stuff, maybe in a new Congress if that comes to pass. But it is sort of like, as Charles Payne pointed at the beginning with all these little surprises, the gift that keeps giving, and it scares people. What do you think?
As Charlie and Ben, they quoted Rube Goldberg. Well, let me talk about Tom Waits, who said, "The large print giveth,
You know,
and the small print taketh away."
Cardinals today quoted Rube Goldberg, which I thought was a religious coming of together here. But go ahead.
The large print giveth, and the small print taketh away, Neil. And, you know, I wish we could say this was a surprise, but Charlie's point, if you go back to Sarbanes-Oxley, if you look at Dodd-Frank, time and time again, our government, the government-industrial complex, loves to lard complexity on our system, and all it does is muck everything up. Look at the tax code, thousands of pages, everyone feels like they're getting screwed. If you look at the new Dodd-Frank legislation, they're trying to do all sorts of complicated things with separating proprietary trading. They could have done something really simple and elegant if they really wanted to, and bring back the separation between investment banks and banking. But that wouldn't make business and work for lawyers and accountants and lobbyists and everyone who's feeding at the Washington trough. So they don't do that.
Or even worse,
they just
that would
add
take
complexity.
power. Even worse, that would take power out of Washington. I mean, I tell
Absolutely.
you, I'm not. This is not a conspiracy theory when you say this. That part of this administration's goal is to basically get all the power in one place. It's to basically centralize power. That's what you do with Dodd-Frank. You create massive. It doesn't force the banks to break up, as Neil said, which would be a smart thing because you're mixing risk with insured institutions. Why do you want to do that? All you're doing is basically centralizing power of regulation in one place to regulate these big banks. And the same with this healthcare law. It's very scary. It's almost 1984-ish. And I'll tell you, it's going to. I'm not saying the economy's not going to improve in the short term. It's going to improve, but long term, you know, we have an economic issue here of growth. How are we going to grow?
Finally, I want to raise to Ben Stein. And Ben, it's this. I think, you know, it's like in a negotiation, the other guy will keep pushing something, see how far he or she can get. And I don't think the administration envisioned the kind of reaction it got, but it was going to push and push and push. And it dialed it back a little bit, but not a lot, I might point out. Well, and that's what I think is a lesson I'm learning here.
Well, the government is pushing and pushing and pushing to get a blank check. I mean, we've had other presidents like Mr. Roosevelt, Mr. Truman, other presidents, Mr. Lyndon Johnson, who asked for more power for Washington, but they specified what they wanted. In this case, the Obama administration said, just give us the blank check. Trust us to fill it in. Well, we can't trust them now. It turns out that if we trust them, they take advantage of us. Well, Congress has to be extremely specific about what it is granting, what it is not granting. I think we can count on the Republican House to do that. Let's hope we don't have a one-party legislature.
Ben, we just found out that the Obama administration clearly thinks it has a blank check with this health care law.
Yes,
but guess what? The American people are not going to let them cash it.
Absolutely.
Not after what we saw this past week in the backtracking from the White House.
Although I think it's kind of written in stone, a lot of this stuff.
Well, I think some Catholic priests might disagree about what's written in stone.
I mean, listen, some of these things, but my brother's a doctor. It's hard to reverse some of the stuff that's in place.
Does he bug you for money now because he doesn't have it?
He wishes. Listen, and he's very highly educated. He does wish he maybe didn't get the PhD and the MD.